Welcome to another episode of For Success, where we talk about alignment, we talk about being purposeful and intentional. And what you'll see when I bring guests in front of you is that they are my friends, they are my brothers. And so today we're going to talk about, aligning. We're talking about building. We're going to talk about designing. Like, how do you design your future? And so a very cool episode today. We got Keith Key and Aaron McDaniel. And so let me talk about first Keith Key. Is that I met Keith through his father. I had a meeting with Mr. Key, and we were talking about suiting and clothing and stuff, and it ended up being like a 2-hour meeting to the point where his assistant called, like, is he still there? Like, I was like, yeah. She was like, he never takes meetings that long. Like, I don't know what y'all talking about, but that's amazing that y'all still talking, right? And so that meeting led to another one. And then in that conversation, he brought up his son. And I was like, where? He was like, he's in school, but he likes fashion, and like, I really want you two to meet. And so I had so much respect for what Mr. Key had been doing on the developmental side. And Keith will tell you a little bit more about that. But just monumental figure that we don't have a lot of black men that you could look at and just know what they do, but also have that personability where they'll take the time to meet somebody they don't know. And I'm an entrepreneur, I'm hustling. And he took that time. And so my appreciation for that was that I took from that conversation that, all right, Mr. Key may not have that much time for me, but he's like, man, listen, what I really need is somebody to help my son. Like, he's coming back, he's gonna graduate soon, like, and I need him to get plugged in. I was like, I got you. So I reached out to Keith on LinkedIn, and so we had a dope conversation, and I knew he was like far beyond his years, super wise, and then that wisdom has grown over the years, where I always introduce him as like my little brother, but really, I mean, obviously bigger than me, but but in the conversation, he's my big brother in real life. Like, we'll talk about things that he's far beyond my years and certain understanding when it comes to certain topics. And we talk about life. And, he's somebody I consider that helps me in different areas and pushing me. Even to do this was like, I've been waiting on you, man. Where you at? Let's go. So I always make sure his name is in the room when it's appropriate. I'll do that for both of you. But it really just came from a place of like understanding what Mr. Keith, Big Keith wanted. And then me and, Keith Brandon had a chance to really connect and really form a brotherhood. And it's just been an amazing opportunity for me to grow. And to have somebody else in the family. And so,
sure.
Keith, if you want to kind of take a minute to talk about who you are and what you're doing.
Yes, sir. Appreciate the introduction, man. That was definitely a warm introduction and everything else. And of course, over the years, I appreciate your friendship. And I think you did exactly what you said. My dad said, allegedly. I don't know if you really said that exact things or not. But no, I mean, definitely kudos to you, man. You introduced me to a lot of pivotal people in the city. Pivotal people just in the marketplace generally as far as real estate, economics, even sports, entertainment, what I mean? So I definitely appreciate you, bro. And so, but anyways, as far as who I am, like Keith Key, as he said, my dad's name is Keith Key as well. Some of my friends, family, call me Keith Brandon, just to differentiate the two. But I'm a developer. That's the meat and potatoes of what I do. Is full-fledged development. I work for my dad's company. I'm an executive at his company, and so KBK Enterprises. He's a national developer. He's developed in 8 different markets around the nation. One of the nation's largest black or minority real estate developers, and so I love bragging about my dad, man, because he's done a lot, and he's very humble, and I think that's a quality that like both of y'all share, and it may be a little bit of projection because I want to get out there more, and I'm kind of pushing myself to get out there more, just being in business, in the game of businesses, but also in sales now and stuff like that, and so, but yeah, as far as he goes, I mean, he's from Pittsburgh, from the projects, you know what I'm saying, and I came to Columbus to go to Ohio State, and then. After Ohio State, football didn't work out for him, and so he kind of invested his time and talents and treasure into business and organizational building. And so he started off in college. He grew the NAACP at Ohio State to like enormous numbers and fought a bunch of different social issues that was going on at the time, which was a lot in the 80s. And so. He used that to get into banking. He was on ABC World News for his qualities in banking and achievements in banking, and then he went on to PT and Associates, which was a development consulting group. did very well there, and then which landed him and my goddad in their first deal, which essentially made them some of the youngest black millionaires in business at the time ever, and the largest black real estate developers in Ohio's history at the time. And so gleaning from their experiences and gleaning especially from his experience, and two, he was 30 at the time. He was 30 by the time he was a millionaire in real estate. And so to be able to sustain that, we know because we've seen people come and go very, very often.
Yes.
So actually being able to sustain that took a certain level of admirable characteristics that I always kind of looked up to, admired, and wanted to embody myself. And so over the years, I've always wanted to be in the business, but just actually going to college, and we share an experience. We both OU guys, OU graduates, and so
I didn't know that.
Going to OU and stuff like that. Getting kind of away from home, but still kind of home. I can kind of come an hour up the road whenever I want to. It was great for me because I got to actually kind of deploy some of the characteristics that I've seen him embody and him kind of credit his success too. And so, I became a student leader there with the inspiration of him and various others. And hit the ground running straight in development. I was in banking and lending for a little bit, but then I got straight into private development. And man, I mean, my first couple years, I think that's when I met you. When I first started, it was like going to law school, right? I'm reading all these different agreements because as Aaron knows, I'm sure he'll share a little bit, like in real estate, especially when you're doing business at a higher level. It's very litigious. You know what I'm saying? Like if you miss one little thing, you're liable to get sued. You're liable to have a lawsuit pending against you, which would cripple your success, whether it be for months or for years. You know what I'm saying? And so I was reading all these different agreements just to understand how deals formed and the whole essence of business. So I feel like I was reading the playbook, learning, understanding the playbook. And so I was able to use that to start getting into consulting for a few different companies and deals, and then start to do my own deals. And so I'm taking on now mid-sized deals, and my dad takes on larger deals. So not any conflict on that end. But then also lately, he just started a commercial brokerage, and so I'm a commercial agent with his brokerage. And so just doing a lot of different things, but all things real estate, all things trying to understand real estate deal like deal formation and stuff like that. I feel like it's been my focus. So
yeah, and that second generation, and so I'm gonna get further into that.
Yeah,
why you
sure.
chose to do that, because there's so many powerful things about having somebody like, having a successful father and a mentor in the same house, and being able to, that you made that choice to continue to do that. But I want to jump in with Aaron real quick before we get to that point. So funny how I met Aaron is through his father as well, Sam McDaniel. And
shout out to Marcellus Stewart.
Exactly. Well, actually Michael Jones.
Michael Jones.
The realtor.
Okay, I didn't know that.
So Michael Jones, who's a big realtor on the realtor board, introduced me to
previous president of the Board of Realtors.
Yep, exactly. He introduced me to your father and Marcellus, and it was really because of the Two Fish and Five Loaves, because I was starting Jones Select, and I was already doing business. I had been trained by tailors and doing stuff, but I was going to my first show.
Yeah.
And so, it was a huge hurdle because I was going to have to travel multiple times, and this is my first fashion show, and I'm developing stuff and going out to Arizona. And so I meet and hear about this group called Two Fish and Five Loaves and Sam McDaniel, and I'm like, okay. And this cool cat comes outside, we sitting on the porch, and he talking, laughing, And I'm like, man, I'm like, man, this dude is so cool, man. Well, have fun, make money. You know what I mean? And do well. And I'm like, man, this dude, man, it was such an infectious opportunity to meet him. Somebody I had never met. And that's the wonderful thing about doing business is that you get to meet so many people and characteristics. And here I didn't know he had all this professional success, and then, decided to go into real estate. And so your father, he invested and bought suits. They bought a bunch of suits. And they said, hey, man, just do the suits later. We're just trying to support you. And so not only did he do that, but him and Marcellus flew down to Phoenix, Arizona to be a part of my first show. And he's like, man, not only did he endorse me, he said, hey, man, that's one of my sons up there, right? So I'm the only black designer that's there that's doing 12
Nice.
looks. I'm on the news and all this stuff. And of course, you know, my family couldn't afford to go. But I had, you know, this brotherhood and mentor that decided to invest and come.
Yes,
And
that's
so
what's
it's such a major story. So part of that when we meeting is that he's like, man, my sons, right? But he talking about you. And so he's like, man, I need you to talk to Aaron.
Yeah.
This is exactly what he said. And I was like, okay, what's going on? And so we had met in passing. You know, I'm over the
Yep.
porch hanging out. And obviously I'm older, you know. And so I'm like, man, I'm going to holler at you. So we always talk and just chopped it up or whatever. And then, you know, it was a wonderful introduction. This is obviously before you start doing the real estate. And so, but we always kept connection from there. But from that endorsement, because again, my love for, you know, your father and that introduction and what they decided to support me in, it gave me a different lens of like, it's my responsibility,
Yeah.
you know, to take care of, you know, what I consider family.
100%.
You know what I'm saying?
100%.
And so that's how we met.
Yeah,
But you can
yeah,
talk
yeah.
about who you are and what you're doing now as
Yeah,
well.
man. First of all, you know, I hear my guy Keith and talking about his father, and man, it honestly gives me chills, bro.
I know.
Like we're having a little bit of church right now.
I know we are.
because, you know, the reflection of understanding of where we've been, you know, where we're at, and the potential of where we're going is incredible.
Yeah.
You know, I heard about your father, you know, just growing up. You know, you talk about the largest black developers in the city of Columbus. I remember hearing about Mr. Troy as well at that time, and him probably being more of an out there face for me at that time.
Yeah.
But also knowing that there's somebody in the background working the numbers, you know, doing things, and it's just legendary legacy to see what he's done and also what he's passing down.
Appreciate you, bro.
And so when I think about like 2 Fish and 5 Loaves, which was literally just a group of people in a room talking about giving, like, and we all had an assignment once a month, and we would say it'd be like if we in here we're like, hey man, what do you want to give to? We're all gonna support it this month. What do you want to give to? We're all gonna support it this month, and we all did that 12 months out of the year at that period of time, coming from the Bible, the idea of, you know, Jesus feeding a group of people based on 2 fish and 5 loaves.
Yes, sir.
And then it leads us up to today, which is, you know, like it was a seed that was planted in me, you know, and even before that, and I can speak to a lot of different things, but that in particular was a seed that was planted in me that like, hey, your purpose here in this world is to go out, do well, come back, and give back.
Yes.
So aligning with the principles of have fun, you know, make money, and help people.
Yes, sir.
In that order. And, you know, it's a really full circle moment because today is our grocery giveaway where we're going to be able to go out and bless families based on the blueprint ball that we have.
Shout out to the Blueprint Ball.
Yep,
man.
shout out to the
Based on the
Blueprint
Blueprint
Ball. Yes, sir.
And I think, I hope everybody had an amazing, legendary experience. I hope it helps to elevate the city. So with all that being said, you know, somewhat similar story. My father was one of 8 children back in the 40s. And his dad died while he was being born. And so it left a single mother with 8 kids. And they were trying to figure it out. You know, this is obviously a different point in time. Women had a lot less opportunities than they do in 2025 by a significant margin. And so the family started migrating up to Columbus. As the child, he came up and was staying with his sister. You know, they're scratching, you know what I'm saying, just trying to get to the next day. But I think they always had a really good moral compass. And one thing that he's always handed down to me is just about hard work. Like, you know what I'm saying, like it's like hard work is just part of the equation. Get ready for it, be prepared for it, and stop making excuses. So with that being said, what I saw when I was born was he had worked for this trucking company, and it ended for whatever reason, and he started painting. He just started painting houses, and he was saving up his money. I think he's always been very frugal and responsible about, you know, money and looking at future opportunities, which I do think is a characteristic of success. Understanding and committing to long-term goals and foregoing, you know, short-term pleasures.
Right.
With that being said, he was saving his money and he was buying houses in the hood, you know, and he was fixing them up, turning them into rentals, got into some multifamilies, and then bought this building. I think it was 815 East Mount Street. 815 East Mount Street became what was essentially he called it an incubator, or what we might call a co-working space in 2025. And so there were businesses that essentially started there. The idea was that if you could share resources as small businesses, then you can increase your chances of success as a small business. So I think like the statistic is like the average small business fails within 2 years, something like that. So some of the businesses that start out of there was a bank that was there was a health care space. Probably two of the most significant was Coalescence. Shout out to Angela and Ian
Angela
Blunt.
and Ian.
They just did a multi-million-dollar exit out of this business,
exactly.
3 or 4 years ago that started at 815 East Mound Street.
Amazing.
And then also Glory Foods. Shout out to Bill Williams, Jason Williams, Bill Williams Jr., big dog developers, people that they like, God bless, like we're sitting here on this couch as people who take care of our children, people who are responsible, people who are forth thinking, and people don't know that we exist and don't believe that we exist, and them as well. So they were working on these things back in the day, and they're planting these seeds that are, emerging now, and we just need to make sure we're taking care of it going forward. So with that being said, I think for me, like, I saw my father doing all these entrepreneurial things at a young age, and I was always like, all right, real estate. Like, I got to figure out what real estate, how is this going to work? Where's my lane? So I go to OU, I get my real estate license while I'm there,
Nice.
graduate, and I had this. If you remember Noriega, the rapper, he had an album. It was called Grimy Season, and I wrote on a piece of paper. It said Grimy Season, and what I said is like, you're cutting your own hair, no new clothes. You're not taking any girl out to hang out unless she pays for herself. Like, I was in Grimy Season, bro. Like, so any dollar that I didn't have to spend, it was not a necessity. I was stacking up, and then so ended up buying my first property. I think at like 23, something like that. And I still own to this day.
Wow.
So buy another property, then I end up getting another job, and then at a bank, and I'm like, all right, life is going good, So probably about 2-3 months later after that bank, I get fired from this bank. They like, hey man, you're doing something on the computer you're not supposed to be doing, looking at your personal email or something like that. And
allegedly,
bro, allegedly, yes, thank you. That was the attorney coming out of it. That was the attorney, thank you. But like, I think there has been times in my life that were challenging to me like that, that I didn't know that God was carrying me somewhere. For sure. And so I would say that even at the Blueprint Ball, like we had a blizzard on Saturday, full blown, like level 1 blizzard, where like, man, it was a challenge in my mind. I was like, man, we need to cancel this thing. And I got on the phone with my wife, and my wife's like, hey man, you need to let them cancel it, because they ain't telling you what type of loss you're going to take after the conversation.
For sure.
But guess what? Like, I just feel like we created a moment that was really historical for our city, and I hope that helps to continue the progress that we're having, and hopes to lead to some type of connection or multiple connections that I can be part of that, seed planting as well.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I wanted to give an introduction before we got into just the principles of success, because it's like, if people don't know where you come from or who your father is, then we're having a conversation that could people can miss something valuable, because we're all standing here because of relationships, being intentional, right? Both your fathers were intentional in taking a meeting with me, right? And they asked of something, it was in an indirect way, but I appreciated it so much. And so just on the personal side, so I grew up with my father not in the house, with a single mom. And so we moved a lot. I was in 4 or 5 elementary schools. I was in 2 middle schools. We moved probably 8 or 9 times. So housing was a big thing. And so I didn't know, it was just normal for me, right? So I didn't understand it. It was just, part of my life. But there was a part of me that developed a chip on my shoulder because of the lack of what I didn't have in my life. And so when it came to sports or basketball or even business, it gave me a drive, right? Yes. Because it's like, okay, cool. Like, you have something around you that's a blueprint, or you have something around you to show you what to do. Whereas me, I'm just figuring it out, right? Because I don't have anybody around me. So I was blessed enough to, get mentors and have other people, things of that nature that I would meet. And so in meetings with people I respect, I'm taking from them to say, okay, this is a part of the masterpiece that I was missing, And so not only do I want to take this piece, but I want to make sure I add value to the people that have given to me. And so that was a really big point of why I'm so intentional about always giving back to those relationships that have been around me. And so my question I'm qualifying so that you understand, I'm asking these questions intentionally, because it's like, when you have a model And I'm sure there's so many things that you take and that you're taking from living every day around your dad. And I know, your dad was traveling a lot, building in other cities,
Sure.
and so I'm sure there's some components about having a dad that you probably love or feel a certain way about it, right? But what I want to ask is, you call it the blueprint, right? And I would call it the pattern. There's a pattern that you're seeing, whether you're recognizing it or not, that we all get from our family, right?
For sure.
What are some things that you can remember, key moments that you remember that you feel like now you're using, right? And either one of y'all can kind of jump in and answer. Both can answer.
Yeah, I said we was gonna have church in here, and in church you have to be purely, honest. I would say that there was, I have a remarkable dad. I talk to him every day. We talk about a little bit of everything, but there was also times in my life where me and my father didn't talk. We had probably about a year and a half in my formative years, where we just, it was like, it wasn't no happy birthday, it wasn't no Merry Christmas. He lived around the corner, and I was like, I couldn't stand him, and I'm sure he couldn't stand me. And so I think when you talk about like, you start to understand people and their humanness. Like, there's nothing that humanized my father and mother more than having children myself. And understanding that, we're all human beings having this human experience based on who we are and where we come from and the lens that we use and see the world. And that really informs how we interpret every situation that we have. And so I think, as a human being, I realized, like, man, my father is a human being with experiences and a lens that he has. And even though he's not perfect, he's been there. He's been consistently there. If I called him and I'm in trouble, I know he's there. And so I think that consistency, even though we weren't talking for that period of time, that consistency of trying to be the best person that he is influences me heavily today.
For sure. And I would say that's a great story, man. I think that, like, growing under my dad and stuff like that, I mean, just seeing the accolades that he was getting, seeing the acknowledgement that he was getting, it just, at some point, I was struggling to find the human element in him. You know what I'm saying? Like, he was kind of covering all bases. And I think that he's like the epitome of doing the impossible. You know what I'm saying? Like even when he was my age, and he was I think maybe like a little bit more handsome than me, so that's doing the impossible. I'm just playing with you. No, but, so like I'm saying, like, the way he presented, you know what I'm saying, like the way he like spoke, the work ethic that I think Aaron mentioned earlier, because that's one of the things that I think is a characteristic to sustaining success is work ethic. A lot of people try to shortcut that, and if you don't see it, right, if you don't have a father that embodies it, if you don't have a mentor that embodies it, if you don't have a big bro that embodies it, you kind of think people are almost blessed with success, like some type of Harry Potter figure, just boom, like, you know what I'm saying. But it's a continual thing. It's an everyday thing. You know what I mean? It's a quote that I like to live by. It's by Napoleon. It says that glory is fleeting, but obscurity is forever. Right? And so every day, me, you, Aaron, we have to we have to prove that we're worthy of the glory that we get. We have to earn the glory that we get every day, because the one day that we slip, which I'm sure a lot of people are waiting for all of us, right, is the day that like we go from being glorious to obscure. And so I think the one thing that I see my dad do that like really kind of was formative for me was, I was probably like in late middle school or early high school, and he just had a big deal that he did around the time. And so like the way that he liked to celebrate was very like modest, but also very like thoughtful, righteous, intentional, whatever have you. And so after church one time, you brought up church and kind of plugged it in my head. But after church one time, it was a private meeting between us, I think the board chair of the church, and the lead pastor, which is Bishop Washington at the time. Shout out to Bishop Washington. And so we had a private meeting, and he just wrote a check. He wrote a check. It was just me next to him. And and I see the intentionality behind that. Even now is like, I'm gonna let my son see it, but this isn't for the world to see. You know what I'm saying? Because like, I mean, he wasn't trying to make a performative gesture. It was more so like, hey, I've benefited from this church, and I like, I mean, like, you reap what you sow, but I'm gonna sow into this church things that I was able to like reap. And so seeing that and knowing the like benefit of giving and how it pleases God, and if you truly believe in God and you truly like you have a relationship with Him, you gonna give, right? If you earn. And of course, I think both of you have given substantially. Once you give and it's pleasing to God, you want to earn more, so you can give more. Like, the more you earn, the more you can give. And so I think seeing that, it kind of put, and then of course, it was a bunch of different experiences, but like seeing that, it kind of put a mission in my life to earn as much as I can so I can give. You know what I'm saying? And so I think that's one thing that was, I think, pivotal for my developmental process in that time, from a standpoint of integrity, from a standpoint of character, and just having that ethical way of doing life.
Bars.
You know what I'm saying?
Man, that's powerful. And I think, and giving is such a, you can give in so many different ways, right? In monetary of your time, and like you're giving today. And we should be intentionally giving to each other. And one of the things that I think, like you said, there's always more, right? When you're giving, you can always go back and get more if your hand is open versus closed. And I think sometime in our community, we don't have conversations like this and forums like this to say, look, we're working together, even if you guys don't know, that I'm intentionally in a room, and I'm gonna make sure if I'm there, I'm gonna be like, hey, you need to meet such and such, And it's funny because I do that to both of y'all, but only like, my people that I feel like are family. 100%. Like, I was at InvestFest in Atlanta, and I met somebody doing some real estate, and I was like, oh man, my guy is here, you need to meet. It's 10,000 people here, literally. I ran into him. I'm making sure they having a conversation while we there. I'm like, oh, you on your way to Columbus? Yeah. Cool. Dope. And I do the same thing for, we're out of town together. I'm doing a deal. I'm like, hey, listen, if anything real estate is going on, you need to make sure you're having a conversation with him. And I'm looking at it as my advisors or my friends that I want to see do well. And I think in our community, if we just position ourselves to say, like, success looks like you winning with the blueprint, it looks like with your developments that you're winning. Success looks like you winning and all the things you're doing on the commercial side and with your father. And the only way that can happen is if I care about it. Yeah. Because if I don't care if you win, because I want to know you're doing well. So, hey, we're going to hang out, or I'm coming to hang out at your event, or when I see you, I don't want to just ask how your business is doing. I want to be intentional to help your business, because that changes our community. Everybody sits here and complains, right, at times, and I'm not saying us, but there's all these conversations, but nobody's doing what they have control of. It don't take nothing to share a video. It don't take nothing to tell somebody, if you want to go somewhere, this is where you ought to go, right? Because I don't know where those conversations always went, right? But at least I know I'm intentional. I'm not going to ask how you doing. Well, at least, hopefully, if nothing else, I hope I impacted your bottom line somewhere. Right. And because if we could do more of that, and that's really what I took from, like you said, the principles of giving. When you study successful people, there's a pattern. And what does those patterns look like? They give, they work hard, but what is working hard? And I think the definition of success is probably different for all of us, but there's going to be some synergies, right? And so we talked about, obviously your amazing fathers, you guys seeing some of that success in your own personal homes. But what made you make that decision to follow that path? Because sometimes what happened, and I know some of the stories, is like sometimes you could buck up against that to say, like, all right, I know you did this, but I'm going to do that. You know what I mean? So there's still a decision. I know. That's what I'm saying. It's like, but there's a decision that you had to make to say, you know what, I'm going to follow this pattern. And why am I fighting something that's already here? Because there's strength in doing that, right? There's a strength in being able to say, hey, man, I don't have to be in a matrix, because to be honest with you, there's so many people that don't have purpose. They lack intentionality. They don't understand. They are walking around the world. And, you imagine if you don't have any direction at all because you had no path, or you had maybe no, obviously, hopefully you get that from your relationship, in your relationship with God, but also finding other things. And we have resources available like this right here, like podcasts and things like this that can help mentor you. But for you personally, having great fathers, having a great pattern, having a great blueprint, what was that day that made you make that decision? And then what did you learn from that?
You want to touch on this, man? Well, I can go. I think so. I don't think it was one specific thing.
Right.
I think it was kind of a consistency of things happening, and so it's a lot of pressures. I mean, this conversation doesn't really be had a lot, but it's a lot of it's an interesting path going through life when you're a black man and you have a successful dad. It's like I was good friends with this woman growing up, and she was in high school. She's a Caucasian woman, but we just lived like the opposite path, right? Because she was like, I mean, she like went to Gahanna. She went to like a like nicer school, but it was like she lived in the hood, and like I went to Bishop Hartley, but I was always around the east side. Like my auntie and my grandma lived on the east side, so I would be at like Barnett Rec fighting and stuff. But like it was like you mean we lived like, but like my parents lived in Powell.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I grew up in a 12,000 square foot house.
Right.
Very, very contrary to what the average black man is up brought in, right? And so me and her was living like completely two different paths, because she would try to hide the places she was from because it was obscure, and I was trying to hide the place that I was from because it was almost overbearing for a lot of people, for a lot of our people. And to be honest, I wasn't too proud of it because I didn't get respect for being for having a freaking pool in my house as a kid,
right?
Like, you know what I'm saying? But it was like now looking back on it, I wish we had a community. I wish we had a dynamic in our community where we did honor that, even at a surface level, to be like, hey, you have a wealthy, powerful, good dad, man. Let me get close to you. But it wasn't that. I'm sure Aaron can maybe attest to it from a standpoint of people didn't like, you mean that didn't raise your stock in the community. And so it was very, very interesting. But I think that, and so I say that because I wanted to preface that with, I had a real good friend in college that was like my best friend, and he was, as I graduated, transitioned, started working with my dad. He was like, man, you gotta do your own thing, man. You gotta do your own thing, bro. Like, bro, forget what your dad do, man. You got, right. but I had to have a lot of I had to resist that a lot, because it's like, I know that a lot of that comes from projection for sure, but it's like too, the community was almost trying to pit me against my dad.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And I tried to, I was always like, you know, I thought that deeply to notice what it was, but also too to notice some of the germs in our community that may cause that. And I think a lot of people almost like have like these negative relationships and negative outlooks on wealth. You know what I'm saying? They like almost despise wealth, not despise like, you know what I mean, people, but they like, you know, ultimately despise wealth. Even our community's relationship with the word gentrification. You see, like gentrification isn't a negative word, but we have we place a negative connotation on it because of our relationship with it and our history with it, right? But it's like, even if we had a different outlook on the word, we would like be more encouraged to be a part of gentrification, which will help us build wealth, because gentrification purely is just adding resources to a community, period. Like, you know what I'm saying? And I like, you mean, I learned it from an academia standpoint. I didn't learn it from the community saying, oh my God, these gentrifiers, oh my God, this gentrification.
Right?
You know what I'm saying? And so to ultimately get back to your question, it was me having to resist these different things, wondering why these different things were happening to me, wondering why that community was trying to encourage me to go into a different way, encourage me to have a different type of relationship with my dad and his success, to ultimately be like, you know what, forget this. I'm gonna learn to be the best general that I can.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I have someone that can essentially provide that whole thing for me. Because I mean, just seeing our fathers as humans, it's different things that we understand that our dads don't either, because we were raised a little bit better than our dads probably.
Right, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? And so, like, you mean, I was seeing too, like, man, like my dad probably wouldn't be the best general under himself, but but that's okay. I'm going to be the best general under him. You know what I'm saying? Because like, I mean, now I can know how to lead an army versus just being a warrior, right?
Yeah.
Warriors don't lead an army.
Yeah.
They're just out there gunslinging by themselves.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? And so I like my aspiration was always to lead an army, to be a large businessman. And so in that respect, I couldn't be a warrior.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so I think just seeing different things over the years, especially making my transition from college to the business world, was like, okay, I seen the impact of real estate. You know what I'm saying? Like real estate has a huge impact. Like I think it has probably the most impact on the community than any other profession. Like you up there with like politics and stuff like that, because we work hand in hand with politics. And so it's a very, very serious profession, which kind of can intimidate people. But for me, it kind of excited me because I like wanted the impact part of it. And so yeah, like it's something that is very serious, is high stakes, something that me and Aaron, we have to focus on being technicians at this game in order to provide the best like housing for the community, provide the best economic opportunity for our community and our families. But I think the transition from college to the professional world kind of made me understand real estate and the impact of it, like as far as like an industry. And then development is like the MBA of real estate, right? There's all different type of professions that you can do in real estate, but development was the MBA of real estate. And so to see kind of like my path or an insight that I had in the industry that was kind of like an edge, I was okay, I would be a fool to not take advantage of this. And so that's what kind of made me choose development specifically, but also real estate as an industry.
Yes, sir.
Man, I don't know if I have not one single thing to add to that. I felt like he just knocked that out the park, bro.
Appreciate you.
You know, I think to you know, just to piggyback on the point, what I felt like at an early age was I had an opportunity to, you know, knowing that I have a father who can show me a way, that I knew it was going to be like, it was going to be do that or die. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was going to bang my head against the wall of real estate, trying to figure it out if it worked or if it didn't.
Right.
And I think there was a level of like, you know, like I think when I was young, you know, like you have more energy than experience.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so I was just trying to do a whole lot of different things, whether it was property management or construction. I got out of college and started a little painting company when I was you know, working, do that on the side. A whole bunch of different stuff. But like in that process, I was also carving away what I wasn't. Like, man, you know, I was like, man, being a real estate agent, I don't want to do that anymore. I'm not good at that. You know what I'm saying? I'm not good at that at all. You know, and I think I got to a space eventually where it was like, you know what, real estate investment, number one. And then a window opened up to really, like, me and my dad's first partnership was on our first development project. Like, that was the first time.
I personally want to hear about that, bro, if you could talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we, you know, I'm my father's son, and I think he and I are both very strong-minded. We both are very willful people, and it's a blessing and it's a curse in a way. And so there's just, you know, even though he's helped to coach and mentor me a ton, you know, it was probably never a really good idea to partner on small deals. You know what I'm saying? I don't, you know, that's probably the extent of what I want to say about that at this moment. Now, with that being said, he's always been there, you know. So I think this opportunity came around where, you know, he's always been frugal, or, you know, somebody would say cheap, you know. So we had this opportunity where it was a laundromat that was for sale in our neighborhood, in our target neighborhood, where I didn't grow up too far away from, you know, the Near East Side where I developed, you know, whatever. And it was like listed at $400,000, and the lady comes and she's like, "Hey, I got a motivated seller." You love to hear that in real estate, right? Like, motivated seller is like the beginning of a great deal. Yeah. And so I'm like, "Hey, pops, we should offer him like $250, something like that." He's like, "Man, go offer him 50 and see what he says." Right?
50.
Wow.
He's like, "Go offer him 50 and see what he says." He said, "We'll close next Friday." And
I can tell your dad probably got a lot of enemies in this.
Hey, look, he's a coupon sometimes, and sometimes not. It's all good. But he gets
For
good
sure.
deals.
Hey.
So the dude took the 50.
Oh, my God.
It was a building. It was a little laundry
I
truck.
remember, yeah.
Bunch of laundry
Yep.
equipment, and he closed on the following Friday. We honestly at that time weren't thinking development.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We were just like, it's a building. We're gonna store stuff here. We got a truck. We can move stuff around.
Nice.
And then as time, I think it was probably like 6 months later, I'm looking in there developing on the other side of Broad. And I'm like, man, we got a piece of land. And like, it was all about like, for me at that time, like guessing and checking. Like, it was like, all right, well, I need to talk to an architect. You know, they introduced me to the zoning guy. Then they introduced me to the civil guy. And then there's a point where I was spending money on the project, the idea of a project. Like, this is how development works, is that you really don't know if it's going to work out until you get your deal funded. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You can spend a lot of money, and you will spend a lot of money on projects that don't work out.
Yep.
And so there was a point in time where I had got to a point where I'm like, damn, I'm spending a lot of money on this thing. And I just remember going to sleep on it, and I woke up, and I was like, if this fails, it's not going to be because of me. And I think there was like, I don't know what it was, but it was just something in me that was like, man, you need to run the check until you get to a point where somebody tells you no and no and no and no and no, but it's not going to be your fault. And so I think, you know, he's been there in that process. This was more money than I was prepared to spend.
So talk about that project. People need to know what that project ended up being too as well. I think that's
Yeah,
important.
100%. So we called it the Savriel Project. It's named after my nephew, son, and daughter, Sam, Javen, Abriel, Savriel. It's a 27-unit, one bedroom, one bath per unit project on the Near East Side on the corner of Greenway and Woodland. Super proud of it. It meets affordable housing requirements, but it's a beautiful project. We use all LP, stone and hardy on the outside, quartz countertops, 9-foot ceilings, everything's fully furnished, washer, dryer, every amenity that you could think, exterior porches. And it's been stable and it's been running well. So, nice. We built this project and, kind of going through that process, you're like, man, I hope this works out. I really hope this works out, and we got to a point where, all right, that did work out. And so I think I realized also at that time, I wasn't feeding the funnel. In development, you have to feed the funnel. You have to have something that you're entitling, you're taking through your zoning and ideation process, probably something that you're building, and then probably something that you're leasing up. Yeah. And so I think that's the goal as a small developer now. And we've also, on this project that we're currently working on, are also acting as our own general contractor. So this is a different GC, level. Our GC, the GC aspect. So this is a different level of vertical integration for a small company. So we're we still do renovations. I still buy a little house if it's a good deal. If I can buy something for $400,000 for $50,000, and then we do the development side. Then we are doing the construction side, and then we also have a small property management company.
What's the scale of this next project that you're talking about?
So the project we're building right now is an 18-unit. We got 6 one-bedrooms and then 6 two-bedrooms and then 12 one-bedrooms. And I think probably like you guys, you get better with each project. So you realize there are efficiencies places, there's smarter design things that you can do. So I think we're getting better. And so I hope that, it's received well. We're going through the process of, I had a meeting with, we're looking at another project now. We're in the entitlement process of this. Good. And so now we're meeting with the Woodland Neighborhood Park Association early. And I know, hey, this is something that I need to, this is a community project, because, we're putting this thing up, and yes, we're developing and entitling and funding it, but it impacts everybody in the area too, and we need to understand what their concerns are and listen. We need to make sure it pencils first. We need to make sure we can make money at it, but also there's also good feedback that can be had in that process that can make your project better at the end of the day.
Sure.
And so we're trying to build community. Honestly, that's what we want to do.
Yeah. And that's such a high level of business and real estate. And, really what gave me a better lens, because what I've learned about conversations is that you can hear something and we can have the same conversation and people will walk away with different understanding.
Yes.
For sure.
How the real estate lens really changed for me was one of the specific projects I was working on. I was doing, I was running nonprofits in 3 states for 3 NFL players during COVID. And so we're doing fundraiser, giving back to the community, and I'm spearheading a lot of efforts, doing events and things like that.
Nice.
And so one of those efforts was in South Carolina. I was working with a gentleman named DJ Swearinger in the Two Spoons Foundation. And so me and Keith always connecting, just life and business and stuff. And then I get in the middle of this conversation where DJ is like, look, I want to go grab this old place, this rec center where I had my first AAU game. There's somebody that has it, and nobody can get a hold of the building. She's sitting on it, and because I have been going back and forth, and now COVID's starting to lift, we're doing events and golf outings and all kind of stuff. And I said, well, let me go spearhead that conversation. So I end up doing it. We had so much in common. At first, she was kind of feeling away because everybody is kind of targeting her from that area, smaller area. But I'm like, listen, I'm not from here. I'm here on purpose and in purpose. Like, what can we do to make this make sense? And so from there, end up doing an evaluation. Like, what do you want to do? I'm like, I don't know. We just want to do something. We want to partner with you. Maybe we want to. I was like, who knows? So of course, I call Big Brother over here, and he's like, no, you want to own it.
Ownership goes a long way.
He said, no, you need to own it. No partnership. I was like, what? He's like, yeah. So then I'm like, okay. So then I go back to the conversation. We go through the evaluation. I think it was like 6 acres. And it was the basketball, in there as well. It's like a lot of property, and it's something that was owned by the city at one point, but it was privately owned now. And so we go through this valuation. I don't remember what it came back now. I probably should. It's terrible, but it probably came back almost $300,000 or something like that.
Yeah.
And so lo and behold, I end up, negotiating the deal. We bought the property for like $25,000. And so, and part of that was because of just the leverage and, probably motivated buyer and things of that nature. And then we got another 4 acres donated. So the organization walked away with 10 acres that they could develop on. And for me, I was just like, oh yeah, I had a good conversation. It was cool. And, I was happy about it, but he was like, do you realize what you just did? I was like, what do you mean? So, because I was sending this stuff to him and we're talking about it. So Keith is unpacking it. Like, he's like, all right, he's looking at all the comps. He's looking at the area. And really, my intent, and there's still some potential because that's coming back around to do some development over there. But I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just people skills, putting things together like I always do. But then, Keith is breaking it down. Like, do you understand the power of real estate? Like, you know what I mean? He's holding me accountable, and he's like, look, the potential of what this could be. There's so much opportunity. Same thing that happened with you built on something that was sitting there with somebody motivated and had another vision.
Yes.
And so it gave me such a different lens to say, okay, like there's things that I hear and there's relationships I have and there's things that I don't understand that I need to ask questions. And so that's why I'll call him, or I'll ask you more questions because I want to connect the dots, but also I want to understand. So with this audience, there's a lot of people that may be listening to this that either have real estate, maybe they have one home, maybe they're looking to get another home, and they're not at the level where they understand development or land banking or, all these things that you're having these meetings. But there's 2 things I really want to address. One is the people skills, or like, what are the skills that you have to use, right, to make these connections and deals get done, right? And then 2, what's one point that you think everybody should know about real estate no matter what level you're on? Sorry, it's loaded, but I got it.
Oh, yeah, a little loaded. I think it's kind of what we've been talking about here, which is that it all goes back to relationships. And if, your first deal is going to be the hardest deal that you do. And you're going to be learning things. I had a mentor of mine. He wrote this article that I love. It's called Get Rich Slow. And he said that there's a purpose to every step along the way. What it allows you to do is it allows you to make small mistakes or maybe large mistakes on a small project that don't hurt you as bad if you made them on a larger one. But going back to the relationships piece, your brand speaks for you before you enter the room. And so people have to know, like, and trust you to do business with you in that order, right? They can know you, they can like you, but if they don't get to the point and level of trusting you in a relationship, it's much less likely that they're going to open the door as wide as it possibly could be. So I think, part of that relationships piece is protecting your own brand beyond money, especially early. So, some cats are like, man, hey, let's do a deal, right? But then they'll tell me, hey, man, I'm 15 minutes away from your house. And I'm like, an hour later, I'm like, bro, I can't even trust you to be here on time.
That's a great point.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, so you have to protect your own brand when it comes to, almost everything. People will derive their expectations on future performance based on what you do today.
That's good. That's good.
great.
Like I'm gonna build off that point. I think when it comes to people and building relationships, especially doing real estate development, whatever have you, it's like everything matters. Like you mean, as you said, everything matters. How you do something is how you do everything, right? And so if you come late to a meeting with Aaron, he may think that you're gonna come late to a job site. He may think that you're gonna be late on a deadline, right? And time is money when it comes to development. And so it's like all these things matter. And too, on the contrary, with us as being black developers, like why I'm such a fan of Aaron and Blueprint. And I'm sure why he's such a fan and proponent of like myself and even my like dad's company is because like I get assessed on the characteristics of Aaron, right? Because we're a community.
Wow.
Unfortunately, as black people, we don't get too many chances.
It's true.
You know what I'm saying? We don't get the hardball effect, right? We get the what's the name, Jerome Moore effect. You know what I'm saying? Give me one strike and you out, and so he knew it was over. And so it's like I'm a fan of Aaron's because I mean like the doors he's in, the people that he knows is now indirectly a reflection on myself, right? If he fails on a deal, now people are looking at me like I'll probably have the same failures. And so it's like, but I say that not to kind of I say that to say everything matters and like the type of pressure that we have isn't to like brag about it, but more so to own it, to say this is serious, right? This isn't just for Keith. This isn't just for Aaron. Aaron is now paving the way. Keith is now paving the way for others. Because I know, like, I'm still in my 20s and stuff like that, but I still like know that if I fell on a deal, there's a teenager that won't even have a chance at being a developer or doing a deal at the scale that I'm doing. And so, man, I think that from a standpoint of people, you got to understand, you got to be diligent. Like you have to be, as he said earlier, just hardworking and just trustworthy. I think trust is the biggest thing in business. Like people have to trust you. You know what I'm saying? People have to trust you, especially when you're talking about doing deals at the magnitude that we do, and just development generally. Like development is where all the different political scandals and stuff like that happen because it's big ticket deals. Like, you know what I mean? To like build a building downtown 10 stories will probably take like 80 to 100 million, right? And so these are things that a lot of money can get passed around, a lot of money can get lost in, but also too, like whoever's taking the risk, like, you know what I mean, he could have to move to Mexico after tomorrow because the deal went wrong. You know what I'm saying? And so that's a little piece that my dad says. Every deal, if it goes bad, we may have to move to Mexico. and so because we're risking it all. I mean, shoot, like a lot of these deals, probably all the deals that Aaron has in his pipeline is probably worth more than his net worth. And so it's tough because it's like you just full-fledged rolling the dice, but it's also it's a very serious matter, and so all things matters. Things matters in all different business. Because if you get people to trust you, as he said, like you, I don't really know about that one. I'm like, that's a tough. Well, I know about it because I think as black entrepreneurs, like I was saying earlier. I think that we do have to have all those things, but I'm just not the biggest fan on like having people like me, because I don't know, it's a tough thing. Like, I think the political part of this game is the hardest part because it's not you can't quantify what it takes to succeed. It's an art. You know what I'm saying?
It is.
And so
there's art and science.
Yes. And I think that is one thing that I did learn is that, there are politics, right?
Yeah.
And there's politics in the likability, the trust, or there are a lot of people talk about gatekeepers, right? There are people that look, they just want their group. And sometimes, man, what happens, and it's frustrating, is that if there's one person doing it, nobody else can do it. Hey, man, you make suits for that, don't matter. You're doing a program for kids, somebody else is doing that. Why don't you work with them? It's like, no. I have my own experience. I got 20 years of doing this. This is my pathway. and I'm in my own right can do what I want to do as well.
Yeah.
It doesn't take from this, and there's more people that we can serve. And the same thing with both of you sitting on the couch. The fact that you know each other, that you're connecting and doing things, shows that we can have multiple young developers. That we can build our city through each other, and it doesn't have to be just one person.
Yeah.
And I think the politics of it all is hard because when you have sometimes our leaders haven't traveled enough to see how these other cities, right, have progressed. Like if you look at Atlanta, a lot of the reason why Atlanta grew was because they raised, when the airport was being developed, they raised the minority opportunity for development to come in there and go crazy. And then that spilled over into the rest of the business. But when we're at 2% or 3%, right, and there's only so many people getting the bidding opportunities, there's no growth there.
Yeah.
But when you start letting more of us in, and especially, I'm first generation entrepreneur, right? I'm a solo entrepreneur. I'm trying to build multiple things within one brand. Then we need opportunities. I need collaborations, right? I don't need to be left out of these opportunities. So then what does that collaboration look like? And it looks like conversations. It looks like intentionality, right?
Sure.
And working with people that are already successful that want others to be successful also. But the question is, how do we do that in our city, right? How do we, because it's happening. I feel like Columbus, Ohio, if we're talking about that to make the conversation a little smaller, we was talking about life principles as well. But what are some things that we could do, to kind of change the culture of our city? I think Blueprint Ball, you didn't really go into what that was, but I think that's a great opportunity as well. Your event.
I hope so.
Legacy over likes, you know what I mean?
Legacy over likes. So we threw this event. This is our fifth time throwing it. By far the largest effort, and it scared me a little bit when we talked about doing it.
Yeah.
And that's when I knew it was the right thing to do.
For sure.
I was like, all right, this is not what I've done before, but there's purpose behind it, and I think we can have fun, make money, and give back. So with that being said, to me, one of the things that we need to be intentional about is finding young people who have potential. I had connected with this real sharp young cat named Will Witherspoon, and he worked for a developer, Bedrock, in Detroit. He's coming back here, trying to find his way, so now he's going to be starting with Turner Construction.
Nice.
And he also wants to do his own real estate investing. So at that event, I was able to introduce him to a couple different lenders, Jason Williams, who's a real estate and business owner that I greatly admire. At some point in time, I want to introduce him to Keith Key and say, hey, look, man, this is somebody who's closer to you in age, maybe a step or two ahead, and I think you guys could find some value. With that being said, Will, now that I'm doing this, you're now responsible for reaching back and helping somebody else and following up with the damn conversations that I'm introducing you to.
Yeah.
Like, this ain't a black hole, and if I'm mentoring you, then you need to be accountable as well. And so I think this is where we separate the people who are in the game with us and working to advance. And we're not throwing anybody away at all. I'm not saying that. But I'm just saying that we need to just continually be planting the seeds that, hey, we need to pull somebody up. We need to be networking and making sure we're making it to where we want to go too. But in this space, Blueprint Ball specifically is what I'm talking about. We need to be finding somebody that we can also add value to. Like, I like what you said about adding value, because I think you've always been a person who is just trying to put someone's name out there.
Yeah.
Provide opportunity, connect people, and you never know what's going to happen. So I think that's value exchange. Not somebody who's just take. Like, none of us can be that way. Like, we have to make sure we're contributing up and down the ladder. So I would say that most of the time, like, if I'm trying to identify a mentor for a specific thing, my automatic thing is like, all right, what does this person need right now that I can provide? Because everybody needs something.
Yeah.
And you need to be figuring out how to add value first before you ever ask for any type of anything. And I think that's a principle that's been consistent and has helped me. Definitely.
I would say, I spent a lot of times. I spent a lot of time in like other markets doing business with other people early in my career. I would say after college, and so I got to learn how people do business in different markets. First was Ohio, right? Just being an OU guy, you meet a lot of people from Cincinnati and Cleveland, and so you get to know kind of what the whole culture is. From Cincinnatians or people that's from Cleveland. And so that allowed me to have a better perspective on the Columbus way, because I got to see the different ways that people do things in different markets, and even on the West Coast, like we do business in California. My sisters lived there for a little bit, and so just seeing people in LA, kind of how they operate and stuff like that, it allowed me to assess Columbus in a different lens. And I would say, I mean, just as far as like evolving and just like the culture change that's maybe necessary for like us to grow. I think we got to resist a lot of the institutionalization, or however you say that word. We got to resist being institutionalized. I think we have a culture or a history of that being a thing.
Yeah.
And just like I mean, let's say just judging from people from just in Ohio. In Ohio, a lot of the black people ended up in Columbus because of state jobs, because of like county, city, whatever. These different corporations that's here, whether it be Nationwide, Ohio State, Cardinal Health, Nationwide Children's, like a lot of us landed positions in these different institutions. However, we must resist being I'm looking at my camera. We must resist being institutionalized. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, like I think a lot of people lose sight of what their goal is once they're in these institutions. You know what I'm saying? And so and lose sight of what their foundation and their ethos is. And so like I think at Columbus we have to do a better job as far as black entrepreneurship and supporting that.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Because we have a lot of African American people in great positions, probably more than I'll stack us up against any other city.
Absolutely.
As far as the positioning of black people in this city. But it's like we have to, like, we see what is sustainable. Sustainable is us having wealth. Us having wealth isn't us having a position at these companies. Us having wealth is us having like minority-owned corporations, businesses that are thriving, that are doing decades of businesses, good business here in the city. And we do have great business people who are mentors to all of us, but we need more.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I think more in doing higher level of business and higher aspirations will allow us to not look at each other as competition, which is, I think, a germ in our community. But I think to resist that whole mindset, because it is popular and it is generational.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Because it's like if my mom worked 50 years at the state, it would be hard for me to go out and start my own business and take risks. Period.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? So I would say resist that mindset, but also resist the mindset of me looking at my brother as competition.
Yep.
Right? So like my goal used to be the biggest black developer in the United States as a young man. But I had to shift that because it's like, no, because if that's truly my goal, then I'm looking at people like Aaron as competition every time I meet him off rip.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Other than, okay, I can look at him as a potential partner because it's a zero-sum game.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so, that's the piece of what I say, because I see that a lot with friends, family, people in the marketplace. They can't kind of let go of that mindset because it is generational and it is popular in this marketplace.
Yeah, man, I think those are some powerful points for us to turn like our city and continue to do what we're doing now. It's like, I appreciate you guys' support, just like I support y'all, and we got to continue to, show that this is happening everywhere. Yeah. And I think, obviously as we're turning this corner on that, we talked about, how you grew up, your fathers, we talked about some principles of success, some of those skill sets that it takes, mentorship. We talked about giving back, right? And so as we start to, close out this segment, what are some things that you guys are doing right now? Like, what's the best way to, one, get in contact with you, and then two, like, what are some final thoughts that you want to leave, for the audience to talk about, like, hey, this is your path to success. This is something that you think about every day that helps to continue to keep you going.
Yeah, man, I'm just excited about the city, bro. I'm excited about, us challenging the assumptions of the crab in the barrel mentality, and us being able to say, like, somebody said something really profound to me, which was like, me lighting your candle doesn't put out mine.
Facts.
And like, I feel like, having conversations like this, being in the city, like we're starting to really get it.
Yeah.
And so, being, I think 14th, 15th largest city in America, one of the fastest growing cities in America, it's a ton of opportunity, and it's a pie that we all can eat from. So I'm excited to be, a part of that. And so people can get in contact with me on LinkedIn, Aaron McDaniel, on Instagram as well as .com_Don, DOTCOM_DON. We'll love to talk, collaborate, connect, and make any connections that I can that might be valuable.
Yes, sir.
For sure. And how to get in contact with me is at kbk.cre on Instagram, or Keith Key, my personal page. And so hit me up, anything commercial real estate needs, and just to follow my journey. And I'm excited. I'm excited, like you said, about Columbus. This has been something that this has been a market that I've been trying to have. That was the goal of my early times at my dad's company, is to get them back focused on Columbus. Because we do a lot of things in Pittsburgh. Like, he's done $700 million in development just in Pittsburgh. And so in Pittsburgh, this is like a whole different marketplace. We have almost 800 units of housing in Pittsburgh. And so, but to be focused back in Columbus and to be doing deals here, I'm doing a deal with my church now. And just between my projects and my dad's projects, we're doing $30 million in construction projects this coming year. You know what I'm saying? And it's cool, but I'm almost pissed off that it's not $100 million, because exactly. I know the type of type of capacity and the type of talent that like we have at our company. I'm very excited about it, and so we're like now also rehabbing the office to like now return to a physical office, which will be the first time since 2020. And as you know, like, we're an office company, like,
yes,
you know what I'm saying? Sure. We the like nice office, the chic, the art, you know what I mean, the stuff. And so that's like real estate is like, it's a contact sport, you know what I'm saying? And so but yeah, I'm super excited about what's to come, and like us kind of now planting our flag again in the city. And just the open opportunities for all of us, you know what I'm saying? And so, but as far as like a characteristic, I think obviously keeping God first, having that be a centric part of who I am, and the essence of my family and how we move, and just continuing to build my relationship with Him, and just to stay close with Him, because as we obviously become more fruitful, and stuff like that, it's imperative that we keep our eye on that, you know what I mean? And so, I appreciate you, G, you my dog, man. And I got to give you your flowers, bro. You like you mean, like, as I said earlier in the segment, you introduced me to a lot of key figures for me to build my success, my confidence. You know what I'm saying? As a young man, you didn't have to do that. Like, I was 21 years old, I think, when we met. Yep. You know what I mean? But you seen something in me, took a liking into me, and so I definitely appreciate that. And that's the piece that Aaron was saying we got to do more of. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know if I'll be the same professional as I am now if I didn't have people like you to do that for me. People like my dad. People like I mean, anybody who's helped. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's important. And even helping us at this point of our careers, all of us. Like, I mean, there's something that people can do to help all of us. Just because Aaron arrived at a certain level of success, he's building apartment buildings that's 20, 30 units. You know what I'm saying? He still needs help.
Yes.
You feel what I'm saying? And so like the fact that you did that out of your heart, man, God bless you.
Thank you.
And also, like, we gotta carry that on. It puts the burden and the responsibility on me to continue that.
Exactly.
So I definitely appreciate being on a platform like this and to have a friend like you, for sure.
Yeah, man. Appreciate you, man. I really do, man. Thank you for that. I think, it's been a wonderful opportunity for us to have like an episode of just, it's rare to have, obviously, two gentlemen that are actually friends and doing stuff together, to have amazing fathers, and then we have an amazing friendship, and we could just kind of share it. Because I think that there's not enough of that going on, So today, talking about For Success, talking about our plan for success, I think there's some wonderful jewels that's being like passed on, and I'm extremely proud of both of you, and I'm glad that I had a chance to do something, right? And I'm gonna continue to do my part. I introduced Amen to my cousin. It's like my brother. But it's real though. You know what I'm saying? It's like I done been around y'all for way more than 10 years or so.
Yeah.
And it's like like you said, we all still need things. I need things, and you said it's like, man, everybody needs something. It doesn't matter where you are in business. It's 30 million. It could be 100 million. How can we do that? And it's the same for you in the middle of a big funnel. You doing more, and it's gonna be more. And the thing is, our city, and I always look at it. I look at it like it's on your back because I'm looking at me. I'm like, okay, I'm ready to get out of here in a little bit, but I want to see just from move or just move on to the next thing. But I said that to say I want to see the city on y'all back, and that's why I really am intentional, because I want to be like, if you in the city doing anything in this space, you working with this one or that one, okay, I don't know what you're doing, because I believe y'all are the future, y'all the now. But y'all have the vision, y'all have the intentionality, you have the the back end from just the fatherhood, but it helps propel you because you've listened, you've been disciplined, you've been diligent, and you're taking risk. Respect. And so we need y'all to be successful for Columbus to be what it's supposed to be. Without y'all doing what y'all doing, like our city looks like what people think it is, cornfields and Ohio State, football, which, it was. I mean, it's still Ohio State football, but the cornfields are gone. You know what I mean? Facts. Thanks to y'all. Appreciate y'all. But nah, man, let's keep growing. Let's keep building. Let's keep supporting each other. Hopefully, this conversation leads to some more relationships, and we're going to continue to grow.
Love it, sir. For success.
Yes, sir. For success. Let's get it.
Absolutely.